The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Southeast Zone Head of Operation says that former governor of Enugu State, Sullivan Chime's case is still under investigation. China has reiterated its resolve to partner with Nigeria in the implementation of the Economic Recovery Growth Plan, especially in the area of agricultural development. Donald Trump says that Washington was willing to try to resolve the North Korean nuclear crisis through engagement, but under the right conditions. And Super Eagles technical advisor has cut off further friendly matches as earlier scheduled. Good day and welcome to News on the African Broadcasting Network. I'm Okyomte Fekuji Obao. Now the news in details. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC Southeast Zonal Head of Operation, Mr. Johnson Babalola, has disclosed that former governor of Enugu State, Sullivan Chime's case is still under investigation. Johnson disclosed this at the Press Center Independent Layout, Enugu. He said that Chime is still not far from being hooked up in 450 million naira campaign fund allegedly disbursed by Diezani Alison Maduke for 2015 election. Babalola explained that Rita Umba, who was also fingered along with Chime and some others, is also under investigation, even when she seemed to have accused EFCC of compromising with Chime in the fraud saga. The EFCC boss pointed out that criminal cases of that nature can linger for a long time for thorough investigation to take place. He lamented that EFCC is hamstrung financially in carrying out their own roles tasks as a corruption-fighting agency, but the very people they seem to be fighting are holding the purse, thereby making it difficult for them to execute their jobs, adding that in spite of the challenges, the country would not be allowed to rot even when the powers that been seemed to be fighting their boss, Ibrahim Magul, who he said is clean in the fight against corruption. The chairman board of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC Senator Victor Doma Egba, said that the commission would establish a Niger Delta Development Bank with a view to sustaining and accelerating developmental efforts of government in the region. The board chairman disclosed this when he led the management of the NDDC on a visit to Governor Lubasaki at Government House, Benin City. According to him, the commission is on image laundry and must succeed in ensuring that the Niger Delta is developed, adding that the establishment of a Niger Delta Development Bank will enable budget formation process for the commission and strengthened. He added that the commission will involve governors of the member states so that both parties can work together and get priorities right. On the occasion's activities in Edo, he says that a total of 708 projects valued at 86.34 billion naira has been awarded in the state since the inception of the commission. They include 233 ongoing projects, 130 yet to be commenced, 130 completed but not inaugurated, while 173 were completed and inaugurated. Responding, Governor Lubasaki urged the NDDC to help in the management of resources for the Niger Delta states, noting that the individual member states' accounts should be operated to facilitate appropriation of funds for project execution. Governor Lubasaki explained that the Benin-Abraka road was of high priority and great economic benefit to the state. The Joint Task Force JTF under Operation Delta Safe has rescued 2 kidnapped persons who were abducted last 2 months on the waterways while going to Lower Siri in Braz local government area of Bayelsa State. The commander of Operation Delta Safe, Rear Admiral Apuchi Suleiman, says yesterday that the troops made the progress following a successful raid operation on the identified camps of the various sea pirates in the area. Apuchi Suleiman called on the federal government to give them more support to ensure that social economy is achieved. Narrating his experience in the hands of kidnappers, one of the victims, who was still in the custody of the Operation Delta Safe, Suleiman Yinusal, expressed gratitude to God and the troops who rescued him, saying he never knew he would still be alive to narrate this story after staying at the kidnappers' den for 50 days. Inusal, who is from Katsina State, says he was going back from Bunima to Suku, all in River State, after buying goods from Aba, but about 6 of them on board were abducted on the waterways by the sea pirates, stating that they were beaten mercilessly and taken to a hideout where their eyes were tied. And now business news. China has reiterated its resolve to partner with Nigeria in implementation of the Economic Recovery Growth Plan, especially in the area of agricultural development in the capacity to grow the country's agricultural gross domestic products from 16 trillion naira in 2015 to 21 trillion naira in 2020. Chinese Economic and Commercial Councillor Mr. Zhao Linjiang, who made this revelation during a one-day China-Nigeria Agricultural Modernization Cooperation Forum in Abuja, indicated that there will be an average annual growth rate of 6.92% from 2017 to 2020. Also speaking, Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Zhou Pinjan, stated that China will take advantage of the strategic partnership with Nigeria to share its experience in agricultural development. In line with the agricultural agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari, noting that his country will remain committed to providing both financial and technical support required for Nigeria to achieve agricultural transformation and food security. Mr. Pinjiang says China are willing to work with Nigeria to provide more effective platform to mobilize more Chinese investments in Nigeria's green alternative. A Nigeria Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udo Udoma, who was represented, acknowledged that China-Nigeria Agricultural Modernization Cooperation Forum was part of China's support to the present administration's efforts to reposition the economy, adding that Chinese entrepreneurs were willing to make more investment in Nigeria, which will also address existing trade imbalance between the two countries. London shares are heading south after last night's rising political drama in Washington as President Donald Trump faces possible impeachment after the White House found itself engulfed in fresh controversy. The closing bell of the major indices were sharply lower, with the Dow Jones down 370 points at 20,609. The S&P 500 was off 43 points at 2,357, and the Nasdaq lost 1,508.63 points at 6011. Bank stocks, which have outperformed the rest of the market in recent months, suffered most. Bank of America was down 5.9%, Goldman Sachs lost 5%, and Wells Fargo slipped 1.9%. Meanwhile, in the UK, it is a jam-packed section for results including Royal Mail, Burberry, Tumults, Cook, Greg, and 3i. The focus this morning will be UK retail sales, in which there is expected to be a rebound in April following a weak March. Let's join Faith for some stories from around other African countries.
Thanks, Okemute. Now on some stories from around the world. The South African Department of Home Affairs has outlined its plans of overhauling its immigration policies in its latest white paper on international migration issued this week. Home Affairs Director General Nkuseli Aplene said this is an effort to implement an African Union requirement that obliges member states to include in their legislation elements of free movement of Africans within the continent, and the white paper includes a section which deals with admissions and departures in relation to security issues. Various elements will be changed incrementally, but the focus is on the potential scrapping of visas for African citizens to enter South Africa. One of the proposals which will facilitate this process is the establishment of a border management authority to be the entity which will be responsible for managing everything around the border management at points of entry, whether land, maritime or air, so that the authorities will be able to guard the borders to make sure they facilitate the movement of people and goods. The US opposes the travel of Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir, who is wanted by the International Criminal Court (ICC) over alleged crime against humanity, including genocide. The U.S. Embassy in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, made the remark hours after Saudi Arabia invited Bashir to attend a summit this weekend that President Donald Trump and leaders from the Muslim world have also been invited for. U.S. Embassy Khartoum reiterates that the United States have made its position with respect to Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir's travel clear, noting that they oppose invitations, facilitations, or support for travel by any person subject to outstanding International Criminal Court's arrest warrants, including President Bashir. Bashir, who has been the president of Sudan since 1989, is wanted for alleged crimes committed in the region of Darfur, where at least 300,000 people have been killed since a conflict erupted in 2003. He has also rejected the charges and refuses to stand trials as his country does not recognize the ICC's jurisdiction. Both the US and Saudi Arabia are not signatories of the Rome Statute, the treaty that established the ICC in 2002. A court in Ethiopia has sentenced 23 people to up to 15 years in prison for establishing link to the Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab extremist groups. The Ethiopian Federal High Court says they had been accused of planning to carry out terror attacks inside the East African countries. Court officials say the defendants were active between 2010 and 2014 in 6 cities, including the capital, Addis Ababa. The charge sheet says the defendant recruited individuals and sent them to neighboring Somalia for training, and Al-Shabaab, which has linked to the Al-Qaeda, is based in Somalia. We'll be going on a short break. More news when we return. Welcome back. Now some news from around the world. French President Emmanuel Macron on Wednesday appointed the members of his government, with several key ministries going to close supporters, but center-right politicians taking to critical economic portfolio with equal numbers of male and female ministers. Macron also followed through on promises to include figures from outside the political sphere, with several appointees coming from backgrounds such as education, campaigning groups, and sports. The government lineup included nods to Macron's strong support for the EU, as well as the appointment of a high-profile ecologist, with much speculation about the government's political balance after the appointment of center-right politicians, Edouard Philippe, as prime ministers, with 6 center-left ministers as opposed to 2 from the center-right. Former Agriculture Minister Bruno Le Maire, 48, will be ministers for the economy, while Les Republicans' former Assistant Secretary General Gerard Damamen, 34, becomes Minister for Public Accounts. Former Agriculture Minister Bruno Le Maire, 48, will be Minister for the Economy, while Les Republicans' former Assistant Secretary General Gerard Damamen, 34, becomes Minister for Public Accounts. The Labour Ministry goes to 62-year-old Maria Pénicaud, head of the business promotion agency France Business, while Pénicaud will be charged with pushing through Macron's pledges to make the Labour Code more flexible, and is likely to run into swift opposition trade unions. Meanwhile, Macron's political allies took up positions dealing with foreign affairs, security, and defense. Outgoing Socialist Defense Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian was appointed France's top diplomat with the new title of Minister from Europe and Foreign Affairs, while Marielle Desanes, Gerard Colomb, Francois Barrot, Nicolas Hulot, Laura Flessel, and Michael Blanca was also among those that were appointed. The Justice Department on Wednesday appointed former FBI Director Robert Mueller as special counsel to oversee the federal investigation into Russian interference in 2016 election, including potential collusion between President Donald Trump's campaign associates and Russian officials. As special counsel, Mueller is authorized to prosecute federal crimes arising from the investigation of these matters, according to the Justice Department's order Rosenstein signed. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein appointed Mueller to the position. Attorney General Jeff Sessions previously recused himself from any involvement in the Russia investigation due to his role as a prominent campaign advisor and surrogate. Mueller's appointment aims to cue the wave of criticism that Trump and his administration have faced since Trump fired FBI Director James Comey last week in the middle of the FBI's intensifying investigation into contacts between Trump campaign associates and Russian officials. In a statement, Trump said an investigation will confirm that there was no collusion between his campaign and Russia. The White House has received a heads-up less than an hour before the news broke at 6 p.m. South Korea's foreign minister said on Thursday that the U.S. President Donald Trump have told South Korea's presidential envoy that Washington was willing to try to resolve the North Korean nuclear crisis through engagement, but under the right conditions. President Trump has said a major conflict with the South Korean is possible and all options are on the table, but he wanted to resolve the crisis diplomatically, possibly through the extended use of economic sanctions. South Korea's President Moon Jae-in campaigned more on the moderate approach towards the North, but he said it must change its attitude of insisting on arms development before dialogue can be possible. Moon's envoy to Washington, South Korea's media mogul Hong Seok-on, said Trump spoke of being willing to use engagement to ensure peace. Cho added that South Korea and the United States agreed during a visit to Seoul by Trump's national security advisor this week to formulate a bold and pragmatic joint approach. The North has vowed to develop a missile mounted with a nuclear warhead that can strike the mainland United States, saying the program is necessary to counter U.S. aggression after conducting its latest ballistic missile test on Sunday in defiance of UN Security Council resolutions. The United States, which has 28,500 troops in South Korea to guard against the North Korean threat, has called on China to do more to rein in its neighbor. That's it on World News. Let's join Hannah on some sport news.
Thanks, Faith. And on sports, Super Eagles technical advisor Gennett Rohr has called off further friendly matches for the team as earlier scheduled as part of Paris campaign. The decision was gathered due to a result of the Nigeria Football Federation earlier rejection of a proposal from the German coach for a friendly match against either Burkina Faso or Togo national team in France. NFF spokesman Ademola Olajire confirmed yesterday that the team will return to Abuja to continue its campaign after the Kosika friendly ahead of AFCON 2019 qualifying match against South Africa on June 10 in Uyo. Olajire also confirmed that a squad list for the AFCON qualifier against South Africa will be released after the friendly against Kosika on May 26. Togo had announced a friendly on June 1st in Paris against the Eagles, with speculation also rife that Burkina Faso could be another possible opponent for a game in French capital after both teams failed to play a friendly in London in March. Officials said the squad list for a June 10 AFCON qualifier against South Africa in Uyo will be released after the Kosika game. The likes of Chelsea star Victor Moses, Ogayi Onazi, and a number of stars now based in China will be expected to make this fresh list. Juventus secured the first part of a possible domestic and European treble with an efficient display against Lazio in the Coppa Italia final. Serie A leaders Juve can clinch their sixth successive Scudetto this weekend and meet Real Madrid in the Champions League final on 3rd June in Cardiff. Lazio were competing in their third final in 5 years, hoping to inflict a measure of revenge after Juve beat them 2-1 after extra time in 2015. The Capital Club have not won another major honor since they beat neighbors Roma in 2013, with manager Simone Inzaghi prioritizing the final by resting several key players for Saturday 3-2 defeat at Fiorentina. The fourth place Serie A side, who have 15 points behind leaders Juve, made an energetic start and saw young striker Keita Diezani hit the post earlier on. Fernando Alonso was fourth fastest in practice for the Indian Police 500 as strong winds limited the number of laps done by drivers, as his best lap of 219.533 mph as well down on the fastest of 22.894 mph set by Ed Capita, with only 14 drivers out of the 3 field posted representatives' time. The 35-year-old Spaniard is competing at Indy and on an overtrack for the first time in his career at the expense of the Monaco Grand Prix, as he bids to secure the next leg of Triple Crown. Only Graham Hill was so far managed to win Monaco, Indy, and Le Mans 24-hour sport car race. His presence in the race is a major draw in both the US and around the world, and Alonso joked that the attention on him was a bonus for the other drivers, with fans allowed close to the pit at Indianapolis. Alonso has to use the 5 days to practice this week to get into the best possible shape for qualifying on Saturday and Sunday at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which comprises just 4 left-hand turns but is an extreme challenge for drivers. Australia coach Darren Lehama says the ongoing dispute over players' pay will not threaten November Ashes series, but admit it will be a distraction during the Champions Trophy in June. Cricket Australia was proposed to increase pay for men and women but earn benefits from a revenue-sharing scheme. But the offer was rejected, and Cricket Australia said it will not pay players after 30th June if the dispute is not resolved, as there would be uncertainty over the team Australia could field after 30th June. Cricket Australia have a 2-test series in Bangladesh scheduled for August, but a home Ashes series against England, which runs from 23rd November 2017 to 8th January 2018. The Women's World Cup also takes place in England between 24th June and 23rd July, and Australia elects female players have shown solidarity with the male counterparts over the disputes, despite Cricket Australia match offer to double the elite women's pay. Australian men team played their first warm-up game before the ICC Champions Trophy held in England and Wales from 1st to 18th June against Sri Lanka on 26th May. That's it on our sport news.
Thanks, Anna. With the sports story, we'll come to the end of today's bulletin. To end the news, a recap on the major stories that made the headlines. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Southeast Zonal Head of Operations, says that former governor of Enugu State, Sullivan Chime's case is still under investigation. China has reiterated its resolve to partner with Nigeria in the implementation of the Economic Recovery Growth Plan, especially in the area of agricultural development. Donald Trump says that Washington was willing to try to resolve the North Korean nuclear crisis through engagement, but under the right conditions. And Super Eagles technical advisor scored off football-friendly matches as earlier scheduled. Thanks for joining us. You can also follow us on our social media platform by visiting our website www.abnchannel.net. Follow us on Twitter at ABN Channel. Like us on Facebook at ABN TV. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, African Broadcasting Network. I'm Okiem Tefekushi. Thanks for your time.